Now we're just wasting time. This is buying us more time.
Greetings, everyone. In today's video, we will be taking a look at our first playable prime modifier, Taiyi, Gengchen.
No more cycles.
Gengchen is a universal support unit. She belongs to the Tianyuan faction of characters and uses rage as the resource to execute her skills. In battle, Gengchen utilizes the power of Yang and Ying to completely lock down the battlefield. Whether her target is a single entity or an entire army is irrelevant. Before we get into her skills, here are some things to note about our prime modifier. Each of Gengchen's skills have a Yang and a Ying variant, so for the sake of all of our sanity, we will be referring to Yang and Ying from now on as black and white. Her skill 3, Antarctic Echo, is tied to her current state and can only be cast while she is in possession of 2 black marks or 2 white marks. Gengchen's states are Apex Heng for her base form and Apex XU for her black hair variant. She will always take the field in Apex Heng state. While in Apex Heng state, Skill 3's Antarctic Echo can only be cast if she is in possession of 2 white marks. While in Apex XU state, Skill 3's Antarctic Echo can only be cast if she is in possession of 2 black marks. Her basic attack has 6 sequences and will generate a set amount of rage on hit. The 4th sequence will gather enemies hit and lift them into the air, and enemies hit by the 6th sequence will be sent flying. Her dodge skill allows her to trigger a 2-second time fracture and gather nearby enemies. If she was in Apex Heng state, she gains 1 white mark, and if she was in Apex Chu state, she'll gain 1 black mark. Skill 1, Celestial Starfall White, deals water damage and lifts enemies into the air, granting 1 white mark. After which Skill 1's white is changed into its black variation. While in its black form, casting Celestial Starfall will gather nearby enemies and will grant a black mark on hit. After which the skill is changed back into its white variation. Skill 2, Cloud Meld White, deals water damage and deploys an ink bomb. After a short duration it will detonate, lifting enemies caught within its blast radius into the air and granting a white mark. After which, it is changed into its black variation. While in its black variation, the ink bomb left behind by Cloud Meld will do damage over time to the surrounding targets for 8 seconds. After it is cast, the skill will revert back into its white variation. Like I mentioned before, Skill 3, Antarctic Echo, can only be activated while you are in possession of 2 black or 2 white marks. While casting Skill 3, the action of all enemies on the field are slowed by 50% for 1.5 seconds. While in possession of 2 white marks, casting Skill 3 will consume the marks to deal massive water damage to the surrounding targets. In addition, she will gather all enemies within her surroundings and lock them into a single point on the field for 8 seconds. Skill 1 and Skill 2 will have their cooldowns reset, after which she will enter the Apex Chu state. While in possession of 2 black marks in Apex Chu state, casting Skill 3 will consume the marks to deal water damage to the surrounding targets. In addition, she will deploy an AoE field that deals damage over time to the enemies for 8 seconds. Skill 1 and Skill 2 will have their cooldowns reset, after which she will revert back to Apex Heng state. Her ultimate, Question for the Heavens, deals massive water damage to the surrounding targets and allows herself and other Tianyuan modifiers to gain more ultimate charge after a Tianyuan modifier deals damage to an enemy. Up to 6% charge can be gained per hit, 2% per Tianyuan modifier. This effect can only be triggered once every 2 seconds. If Untainted Heart Lingguang is in the party, their ultimate skill chain will grant the Blazing Sun buff to the entire team. How much bonus damage the team is granted will depend on your Lingguang's configuration. The effect will remain active for 7 seconds. In addition, it will increase her personal water damage by 15% for 12 seconds. Unlike the previous 2 Tianyuan modifiers, Gengchen is fairly easy to play. Simply generate 2 identical marks with skill 1 or 2, then cast skill 3 to trigger the effect. Gather for 2 white and AoE damaging field for 2 black. We can throw in some animation cancelling for skill 1 to speed up her cast time. Don't bother trying to animation cancel skill 2. It will be a DPS lost. This is the combo I like to use on both red code and blue for main DPS Gengchen. Throw in some basic attacks as needed for optimal DPS. Both the black and white variants of Skill 1's animations are pretty lengthy, so I'll recommend animation cancelling the full cast by dodging immediately after the skill is cast. 3 red is going to be your general support line. It will allow you to slow the action of enemies affected by lift by 30%, increase the duration of the lift status by 100%, and the white variant of skill 1 and 2 will now reset the enemy's lift duration. Skill 3's white variation will now inflict armor break and up to 20% all elemental resistance shred on all enemies hit. Enemies that are unaffected by its gather will instead be inflicted with stagnate. If you want to run her as a DPS, running blue code will offer power equal to that of Azure Lord Meng Jiang, on top of her amazing crowd control capabilities. The first line will allow her to deal AoE damage to enemies affected by her lift when they land. This effect can be triggered by her skills or the 4th sequence of her basic attacks. The second line will force enemies hit by the last sequence of her basic attacks to land, causing them to take and deal AoE damage to the surrounding targets. In addition, every hit from Skill 2's damage over time effect will now lift enemies within its effective range. The third code will increase her attack by 16% after she casts Skill 3 White. When Skill 3 White gathers enemies, elites and boss enemies are inflicted with Heavy Abyss, as well as any normal enemies who are unaffected by the gather. When a teammate deals damage to an enemy affected by Heavy Abyss, an additional attack will be triggered, and this attack's damage multiplier scales of Skill 3's level. So even in her DPS configuration, she will still be able to lock down the battlefield, only really losing her armor break and all elemental damage shred. If you plan on getting her signature functor, you will see great result in her DPS capabilities on blue code. Speaking of functor, Otherworlder Zheng is the one I run on all of my Tianyuan modifiers. This functor can provide bonus attack, skill damage, and ultimate damage. The more Tianyuan mods you have on the team, the better this functor. Otherworlder Shuhu is a fantastic choice for support Gengchen, granting her another source of armor break. Of course, her signature functor Otherworlder Shenli is going to be her best in slot. It will provide bonus final damage, bonus range, and bonus melee damage for all Tianyuan modifiers. Improve the effects of stagnation, armor break, lift, and heavy abyss on the enemies. And finally, it will allow her to push enemies into modifying mode a lot faster. Overall, the functor will increase both her support capabilities and personal damage, but it's by no means a must-have. If you're planning on getting her functor, you can run Mermaid's Tear for slots 1, 3, and 5. This will increase water damage by 10%, decrease the enemy's water resistance by 5%, and increase her crit rate by 5%. For slots 2, 4, and 6, Spartan Battlecry will allow her to reduce the rage consumption of her skills by 20%. In addition, gains a 10% boost to skill damage. She doesn't have any issues gaining rage, but the set will definitely make her a little more comfy to play. For my free-to-play gang, we want to use the new Ruler of the Heavens, set for slots 2, 4 and 6. This set will increase range damage by 10%, and can increase skill damage by 5%, and basic attack damage by 15%. For enchantments, we want attack, crit rate, and crit damage. Wave of Rage and Loopback are also welcome, but not a priority. Warps gives you the freedom to personalise your characters in a way that best fits your playstyle. As such, the ones I recommend may not be the best ones for you. But if you want my recommendations, they are as follows. For DPS, Gengchen run 2 power-up melee and 2 executioners for slots 1 and 2. For slots 3 and 4, 2 EM Flux and 2 Telepathize Force Field 1s. And lastly, for slots 5 and 6, 2 Evolution Particles and either 2 Telekinesis Vector 3 for more damage on skill 3 cast, or 2 Divine Sense for smoother rotations at the start of battle. When running her as a support alongside Lingguang, you can replace the 2 Telepathize Force Fields on slots 3 and 4 with 2 Unfetters. This will ensure your team has good uptime on the Blazing Sun buff from the ultimate. For slots 5 and 6, use 2 Cognition Iterated and 2 Ultimate Equations, because their skill chain hits like a truck, and this will further increase its potency. Due to the nature of her skill set, Gengchen is a pretty universal unit. With her insane gathering ability, armor break and all resistance shred at base S rank, without her signature functor, means you can slot her into any team. Her signature team comp consists of Jin Wu on yellow or red code, depending on whether or not you have her functor. Lingguang on blue code to further shred enemy fire resistance, and Gengchen on blue code if you have her functor, or red code for free to play. This comp will pretty much be one of the strongest teams in the game for some time to come. You can replace Jin Wu with Meng Jiang, or future modifiers like Lu Wu, Zhe Ming, and of course Lu Liang and Ying Zhao. That isn't to say you can only run her with other Tian Yuan modifiers. You can add her to any of your existing teams with or without Lingguang. In closing, Taiyi Gengchen is balanced done correctly. As a support, she can replace Hera on Tian Yuan comps. And if power is what you need, she's about 10% stronger than the beloved 1.0 modifier Hades. Not to mention her speedrunning benefits for story missions thanks to her insane gathering skills. Whether you are a day 1 player or a newcomer, Taiyi Gengchen is one of those modifiers I can truly say I highly recommend.
戦い続ける日々に終わりはあるのだろうか。いくぞ、今日いくぞ、生を守る嘘でしょ。どう？いくぞ、どう？感謝する。くらえ、正義絶対。よくやったわ、いいね。解放は存在する。少し散策しないか？海風を感じながらあなたと語らいたい気分なんだ。